welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. If you found this video because someone is giving you a silent treatment right now and you're desperate for relief, I hope you find a measure of that in this video. Several years ago, you would have found me spending copious amounts of time online desperately trying to find the off button to my ex's silent treatment. My prayer is to make the video I wish I had seen then. Silent treatment was my kryptonite. It was my Achilles heel, my greatest vulnerability. I suffered when my ex would use that to punish me. And make no mistake, that's exactly what it is, a punishment. If you are suffering right now, I'm so sorry. My ex would give me long stretches of silent treatments. I felt so alone, miserable, and desperate during them. I hope it doesn't affect you that badly and that you're just looking for information. If you are suffering, though, I can guarantee you that you are not alone, and I really do care. So let's get into the video. Let's see what's really going on. First off, let's talk about what is and isn't silent treatment. So when I say silent treatment, or it's also called stonewalling, I'm speaking about a toxic, often narcissistic individual who purposefully, deliberately, and with malice ceases all communication with someone they would be expected to be in regular contact with, such as their spouse or child. That's silent treatment. It can last hours to months, perhaps longer. What isn't silent treatment is someone in, say, a relationship gets in a fight with their significant other and needs to cool off. So maybe they'll go for a drive or a walk. What Joe and I do if we have an argument, and it's usually him that will do this, but I love and respect him for it. He'll say, I need to sort this out. We can talk about this tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Now, even if, say he said that, say we had an argument and Joe said, all right, can we talk about this tonight? And even if I'm thinking to myself, or I tell him, no, I don't want to wait till tonight. I want to do it now. And he insists on not talking about it at that time. That is not silent treatment. I still feel respected and we have communication. Silent treatment is cruel. There's no communication. It is literally a punishment for an infraction that is probably the narcissist's fault to begin with. My ex would give me a silent treatment when I caught him in a lie, or he told me something that he did that when he finally confessed, I was upset about, like, let's just say, maxing out 4 credit cards, that type of thing. That's when I would get a silent treatment. I would have told you at any point in my marriage that he, not me, was the bigger, stronger person. He had power, but I didn't. He could do whatever he wanted, not me. The reality was exactly the opposite. Know this. Know this. Someone who regularly has the equivalent of a temper tantrum, and instead of laying on the floor, kicking and screaming, they pretend the problem, you or me, doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. And in my experience, these people have Oscar caliber pretending abilities. They are really good at playing make-believe. This person is severely malnourished and feeling empathy or navigating conflict. I would tell you it's immature, but that is just an insult to immature people everywhere. This has a level of cruelty. You're dealing with someone, it would be your greatest advantage to truly consider whether they offer anything good to your life. Now, staying, leaving, but I have kids, I get that, but that's beyond the scope of this video. In today's video, what I really want to do is just have you get a grasp on the silent treatment. However, in my experience, silent treatment is progressive. What begins as a few hours will one day last long enough to test your sanity. Now, I personally, and now I'm embarrassed by this, but it's the truth, endured a 7-month silent treatment. That began not too long after a 5-month one. When a narcissist or other toxic person learns your weaknesses, they will use them against you. When my ex began giving me silent treatments, I was extremely confused. When I really think about it, when I think about the time I spent in that marriage, I spent an awful lot of time confused at my ex's behavior. To the uninitiated, narcissism is shocking. It's stunning. I felt like I was almost like in this tornado of confusion all the time. I don't remember now if he gave me a silent treatment before we got married or not, but I do remember them early in my marriage. What would typically happen. This is how they first happened for me. He would come home from work and just ignore me. Now, it wasn't often, but it did happen, and it would stun me. With no prior issues, suddenly my ex would come home from work and completely ignore me greeting him. He must have heard me, I'd think. What's wrong? I would think he must not have heard me. What's wrong? Did something happen at work? Are you okay? I'd repeatedly say his name. Now, eventually, in confusion, but now anger, I'd tell him he was a jerk and do something else. A few hours later, he would act completely normal, like it never even happened and it was over. Now, at this early stage it probably happened every month or two. I can literally remember thinking that I was blessed because 90% of the time my husband was good. I grew up in a family where 90% of the time things were not good. In my naivete and low self-esteem, I accepted it. I don't think that they do this consciously. In fact, I think narcs are actually largely unconscious, but they choose us. They choose us because they need us to play a role. They need us to take care of them. They don't have a desire to take care of anybody. They don't have the brain, the heart, nothing to put somebody, even their own child, ahead of them, but they require it for themselves. They need somebody to take care of them. They need somebody to be a punching bag, real or pretend. They need us to fit into a world that they have to pretend to fit into. We're groomed, just like a child, you know what? They act nice and fun until they don't have to anymore. To a narcissist, the nice/lie part of them is grunt work. It's a pain in the neck. It isn't real life. It's just necessary. It's necessary to mold you and me to their desire. Eventually, just like a child, you know what? It's all fear, threats, excuses, fake apologies, around and around. Eventually, we completely lose ourselves. When I told you that my ex used to be 90% good, that changed as time went on. Before I knew it, life had flipped. He was 10%. He was nice 10% of the time. I was so confused during silent treatments. It was like that tornado. I was stuck in the middle of, I just could not wrap my head around this. Nobody has ever done this to me before. It was just stunning, the ability he had to completely ignore me. I could beg, cry, scream, get in his face, anything, and he would not acknowledge me. I would pour out my anguish in front of him. It's embarrassing to say this, but I tell you guys everything. In my heart, I believed that the person I dated was the real him. I thought this cruelty must be beyond his control. The first impressions really do matter. You think about that, the person that they used to be or that you believe they were. We hold on to that. I didn't let that go for a long time. I even felt bad that I thought he must want to talk to me but cannot. I would think this. I was unable to understand what was really going on. So I believed, because he wasn't great at communication, that something was keeping him from talking. That he really wanted to. He wanted to, he just couldn't. Sometimes the innocence I used to have, it makes me so sad. I didn't deserve that. Neither do you. What I know now, and let's think about this. If you really loved somebody, truly, could you treat them like that? If someone really loved you, would your visible agony be okay? I cannot imagine ignoring Joe at all, but especially if he was hurting. What about somebody who has no empathy, though? No ability to love? And this is visible in the brain. Researchers have noted and seen that narcissists have reduced gray matter in the left anterior insula of the brain. Now that just might be gobbledygook, but what that means is that the area of the brain that is linked to empathy, you can see they have reduced gray matter. So this isn't just a theory. So imagine if that was you. What would you be capable of? What would you be capable of if you weren't restricted by empathy, love, self-control, or conscience? Imagine what you could do. This is what we're dealing with. If you are dealing with the silent treatment, it is abuse. Don't mistake it not being physical as not being abusive. It's cruel, it's rude, it's unacceptable. I used to spend so much time trying to find the off button to my ex's silent treatments. What I was missing was that I wasn't giving a silent treatment, so I couldn't stop it. He could choose to. He chose not to. The truth is, when someone like a spouse is giving you a silent treatment, they are enjoying it. I know that feels like a punch to the stomach, but this is very serious. It's not okay. It's not normal. It's a sign of a personality disorder, and that's extremely serious and completely incompatible with a meaningful relationship. While we are suffering during a silent treatment, a narcissist is happy. They get off on the power. It's a rush of dopamine for them. Evil exists, and evil is in narcissists. Very often, narcissists like to watch us suffer. My ex wasn't a good father, yet when he was abusing his kid's mother, me, with a silent treatment, he would suddenly have a lot of interest in the kids. Hey, how was your day? What'd you do today? Hey, let's go get ice cream. All this to hurt me. It took my breath away. When my son was small, around 7 or 8, he came to me crying one day because he wanted to know why Daddy was being so mean to me. It hurt him too. Narcissists have a long reach. Narcissists won't accept responsibility for their wrongs. That's one of the causes of a, quote unquote episode. A large majority of the time, like I said, I'd catch my ex in a lie, or he would confess something. If he didn't like my reaction, boom, silent treatment. I must be punished. A silent treatment will last until they choose to release you, until you have paid the full price. Now, not all narcissists use silent treatment. It's for people it works on. They know our weaknesses. They have the advantage until we find out who they really are. They know us. Remember, they groomed us. They studied us. The truth is exactly the opposite of what it appears. They need us. They aren't even real people. They're paper tigers. I wish I had the knowledge earlier what was really happening. The changes that need to be made against the narcissist stopping silent treatment is you changing. Recognizing your value, taking your life back, and that takes time. But a great start would be to recognize that you are dealing with a pathetic excuse of a person. They have to punish you by playing pretend. Remember, this works because we let them see it bothers us. When I cried and begged my ex to talk to me, I was prolonging it. If I could go back in time, I would not have given him that gift. It sucks. But don't let them see it bothers you. Let this be the beginning of seeing them for who they are and you for who you really are, not who the narc says that you are. You have the power to have a different life. This isn't about leaving anybody. You don't even have to think that today. Just understand you are being given the silent treatment by somebody who is a pathetic piece of trash. Work on yourself. Even if you have to pretend that you are not upset by silent treatment, do it. That's how it will end sooner. And working on yourself is the key to everything. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope it helped. If you have any more questions or comments, please leave them. This is like a key symptom of narcissistic personality disorder. I'm going to be back on Tuesday with Joe. Joe, we actually need you guys to help us. Joe and I, it's not an argument, but we have a disagreement on something, and we're purposely not talking about it at all this week. We're going to talk about it with real reactions on our video. We're going to plan to do that Saturday night, and I'll release it on Tuesday. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see you next week. God bless.